Hey all, today I have a best settings guide for you for DMZ and Warzone. So starting off with mouse sensitivity, I have it set to 4. For reference, my DPI is set to 800, so everyone should have like their own settings so that you have 360 degrees of view when you move your mouse around, but this is what works best for me, so you can start here and then change it depending on what you have. I just have a really big mouse pad personally. So then I would leave the ADS multiplier at 1. I think this works pretty well because then you don't have to change anything. I may have to change it down later, I'm not sure yet. So now getting into gameplay, I have all these still on toggle. Automatic sprint turned off just because you wouldn't want to sprint if you're trying to be quiet. The running actually makes a lot of sound in this game, and it's really loud. So let's see, moving down here. Honestly, most of this you can just leave it as is. I think it's all good. So moving on to keybinds, there were a few things I actually changed here. I changed prone from control to Z. It's just a little bit easier to reach with my pinky than control is. Let's see. Crouch slide, that's on C, which is just fine, and then I changed sprint to caps instead of, it might have been on shift before. I like caps a lot more for sprint just because you're using that button all the time, and shift is a bit of a stretch on the pinky and it's rough for long periods of play. So every single settings tab has an advanced tab underneath it. So if we go to the advanced, I think most of this is set to what I would. I'm not sure yet, but you may want to set like a keybind for walk, so that you can slow down and not make any noise. I don't have that set yet, but make sure you know that these are what the parachute keybinds are, but nothing I would change there. Then we'll go back from the movement settings to the combat settings. All of those are pretty standard combat settings. I changed these off of the mouse buttons just because I'm not going to use the weapon mount or melee very often, and lethal equipment and tactical equipment I will, so I changed those to mouse buttons just to make them more usable. So it's a lot easier to just throw it with the mouse button than try to use a different keybind. It also opened up the mouse button keybinds as well. Next, field grade, those are just fine. G is fine keybind for let's see, I don't think I changed anything in here. Yeah, all of those are honestly great. So we can go back and then scroll down. Vehicle keybinds, I changed the drift and handbrake from control to shift. It's just, again, easier to reach. We're just trying to make all our keybinds as easy as possible. So if we move down, I think all of these were just fine. Yeah, honestly, all these were fine other than the handbrake. So now moving down more, I changed these around a little bit. I changed show scores to F1. You're just it's not really, unless you're playing the normal multiplayer, it's not really important for DMZ or Warzone. So I just left that as F1. And then I did change scores to tilde, and then backpack to tab. It's easier. And then I changed show map from M. M is a crazy stretch. It's a lot easier to press Q because you're going to be wanting to pull up that map all the time. And then ping, I haven't figured out what to use for ping wheel yet, but for ping I just am doing middle mouse button, quite easy. It's what ping is in most games, so yeah. And then I took that, there's nothing there because I took F1 from that, but honestly I don't really care about the menu hotkeys either. I'm just going to be using my mouse for that. So moving on, I'm not using controller, so moving on to graphics, I have this set to full screen borderless. If you want more frames, you may want to set to full screen exclusive. I just alt tab a lot, and borderless will let you do that a lot easier. I set the aspect ratio, it was on automatic, so I assume it was already there, but 16:9, which is what my monitor is. And then VSync turned off. It usually just gives you a few more FPS. Okay, next to quality. Mine is just automatically set to NVIDIA DLSS, which is fine. I'm not sure with this one, leaving it at 85 until I have a better idea of what it does. Texture, oh, sorry, if you want to, what in the world? Okay, if you want a higher texture resolution, you can change it. Honestly, changing it lower might give you, what in the world? There you go, that was so weird, it was anyways, texture resolution, I like it at least decent, just so things don't look like absolute shit, but changing it lower may give you more FPS. And then I have all these set to low, short, particle low, very low. And then bullet impacts, you could consider turning this off just so that it may help your CPU or GPU, but honestly it says effect low, so probably doesn't affect much. Shader quality, honestly, I would put that to low for sure. Tessellation near, that's all fine. I didn't really change anything there. But basically, you're wanting to turn off as many things as you can. As you can see, all low. And yeah, so just turn everything off, get as many frames as you can. Next, going to view. I actually turned the FOV up from 90 to 100. So basically the trade-off is if you have a higher FOV, then you'll be able to see more things in your vision, but if you have a lower FOV, then other people's bodies will appear bigger. So if other people's bodies will appear bigger, it'll be easier to shoot them. But if you have more FOV, then you'll be able to see people coming from your blind side. So it's sort of a balancing act. I'm starting off with 100, and if it changes in the future, I'll put a comment in the comment below and say that I did. But honestly, I think 100 is usually a pretty good balance. It was at 90. I think a little bit more for Warzone and DMZ would be good, just because threats can come from anywhere. None of that really matters. So now that we're done with graphics, down to audio. Honestly, I didn't change much here at all. I turned music volume down just for this video, obviously. And then as we go down, let's see, I changed voice chat push to talk from Z to E just because I wanted to use Z for the prone condition, because proning is usually on Z in most of the games that I've played, so that's what I like it on. And then as we move down, make sure you put your push to talk on like what device you want, just so it works out. But honestly, most of that's pretty good. They have a lot of settings, but honestly, most of them are already what they should be, so it's not that there's not much you want to change. For crosshair, you may consider putting your crosshair on a static instead of dynamic. I'm not sure where that is. It may have been up a little bit further, but honestly, I didn't change any of these. I think these are all just fine. So that should be about the end of this video. I think there aren't really any other settings that really matter. So quick settings are just like, I think you can add settings to change quickly. This is how you could change like your mouse sensitivity really quickly without having to go searching through all this to find it. So yeah, so I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please consider subscribing. It really helps me out. I'm trying to reach that 1,000 subscriber mark to get monetization. And other than that, good luck in your raids this week in DMZ or whatever you play, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, all.